Now, let me put this into context before you get going, Steve, because I know that's the price of admission right there. I get it. But context is important here because we have a lot of non-Leaf fans listening to this show. And sometimes I listen back and go, would you get it if you were not a Leaf fan and you did not watch this game?
Would you get it if you were an alien from space?
Right. Well, and the thing is that the Leaf season this year has been such a clown car of stupidity that I don't think people get it. And it's funny because I got a bunch of fans from Nashville, of all places, last night saying, I tweeted, I said, this is the most embarrassing loss in Leafs history.
And they want that title.
Yeah.
No, you don't get it.
Yeah. They were like, well, you're forgetting about Nashville.
No.
And you know what? I would even pose to you, find me a more embarrassing loss in NHL history.
At least in the regular season, you can't.
You can't find a more embarrassing loss. You cannot. Because you got to think about it. You got to think about the story structure here, right? You got this team. It's built around offense. It's supposed to have this new age philosophy. They've got big money. They got a $30 million line. William Nylander, Austin Matthews, and Mitch Marner a couple games ago, a $30 million line. 3 guys. $30 million.
That they iced the big line of Tavares, Matthews, Nylander against Ayers. They had 2 power plays against.
And hang on, for more context. I know you're getting warmed up. It's Saturday night, guys. Hockey Mecca. You could talk to me about Detroit being hockey town, and that's cool. But you know, the circus
Minnesota, the state of hockey.
That's right. The circus starts here, though. The circus is in Toronto. The majority of the Toronto of the hockey media are in Toronto. You know, everybody knows. I don't need to explain to you what this team means to this sport and how embarrassing this team sometimes is to this sport. Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. After beating Pittsburgh,
the crown jewel.
Yeah, the crown jewel. After beating Pittsburgh 4-0, and they're at home, and they somehow. I didn't love the Zach Hyman pushing the Canes defenseman into James Reimer and injuring him. I didn't mind what Kyle Clifford did with Peter Mrazek because Peter Mrazek was way out of his crease, and I don't understand why Kyle Clifford even got a penalty for that.
We'll get into all that.
But the guy that the Leafs employed to not even do their home ice, to do their farm team's home ice, as in driving the Zamboni, who the Leafs employ, had to put on Casimir Kaskisuo's old equipment. And
Is that what he was?
Yes. Yeah. And wearing Marley's gear and a Leafs t-shirt underneath his shoulder pads and Carolina Hurricanes jersey. And he had to jump out onto the ice. And then here's the great thing. The Leafs are down 4-1 at this point. You're like, oh, 4-1 jokes. Here we go. They have 3 shots in the second period. The first 2 go in. Great.
Tavares
oh, my God.
And Engvall.
Yeah.
That's all it took.
The Leafs were back in it. It was 4-3. They come out. They let in a goal within a minute.
Well, and there's intermission.
Yes.
We don't know. Maybe Mrazek is back or Reimer's back.
No, but it's Ayers.
It's fucking Ayers. We have 20 minutes to score 1 goal? 2, ideally? Come on!
So what do the Leafs do? They allow a goal. It's now 5-3 within the first minute, and they get 4 more shots in the entire 20 minutes, all of them saves. Now, apparently, general managers around the league were super pissed about David Ayers going in because he's a Leafs employee. And they were pissed about it because, like, how can an employee of that organization go in the... Well, you know what? The NHL doesn't have a plan for emergency goalies, so that's what you get. But at the end of the game, and Elliot Friedman said this, and Elliot Friedman is extremely careful with his words, so I'm going to quote him directly, and he said, by the end of the game, general managers around the league were laughing at the Leafs.
They lost. I've said it 1,000 times today in my head and out loud. And it won't sink in that the Leafs lost to a Zamboni driver. Their own Zamboni driver. Mike Stevens had, I think, the most underrated tweet. The one who works at Yahoo. There's like 4 of them. He said, this is what it must have felt like to be the other team in Air Bud.
We're losing to a dog.
That's a good point. I had to think.
There's a golden retriever on the basketball court, and we're losing.
Everyone is focused on what a great story Air Bud is, and no one's thinking about the other team going, fuck! We lost to a golden retriever! That's not even
Like,
Yeah.
what the
It's crusty. They're spinning the ball in their fingers. Take it from them.
Just take it! The Generals were due!
The shots were 23-10 for Carolina since Ayers went in, and shot attempts were 35-22 for Carolina.
Like,
I think Carolina didn't they have like 48 shots at the end of the game?
like to the Leafs, screw you two. Like, screw you two. Two, because you said it first with that performance. The last game before the trade deadline, and Sellers.
Yeah.
They add tomorrow, I'm going to be pissed. They trade a single asset to add, I'm going to be pissed. You got that contract worked out with Muzzin, great. You sign him. Lord knows they need fucking defense, so you keep him. Barry, gone. Anyone with an expiring contract, I never want to see their face again. I don't want to see them in a Leaf uniform ever again. Go let them win somewhere else. Free them. It's cruel and unusual punishment. Do what the Blues did a couple years ago, which was be in a playoff spot and pull the chute because they knew they weren't good enough. This team sucks. They suck. They have suck hearts. You think they're going to win? They're going to win anything? They I don't even know how to describe. They're children. They're children. They play like children. They get scolded. They go out there. The 4-0 performance against Pittsburgh. You don't know what Toronto Maple Leafs are going to show up. You have no idea. This injury, that injury. You bunch of losers. Shut up. I hate that the Maple Leafs have infected a fan base and made them losers too. Oh, this and that. Shut up. No one cares. Riley gives a fuck. Win or don't. They didn't. Against a Zamboni driver. They should all delete their Instagram and Twitter. I never want to hear from them ever again. I don't want to see what fucking stupid shoes you're wearing. I don't care about your goofy little scarf.
Don't even care about your dog.
No,
flat out,
especially not your dog.
I saw Travis
Dog can
Dermott.
stay.
No.
I'm so upset the dogs can't stay.
I saw
You should
Travis
be.
Dermott's dog commercial today, and I was pissed. I was like, "No, I'm sorry. I
What
don't want
about-
to see this right now." It's the dog's adorable. It's not the dog's fault.
No.
What about
Nor
Zach
is
Hyman's
anything.
lawyer commercials?
Hey,
Can't-
I'm
I don't-
Zach Hyman, and Wendy Sokolov sure helped me out of an accident.
Tell
type
you what,
mine.
I will put it off.
That's funny.
What? Don't because it's an injury lawyer. Don't put it off.
No,
Make
don't
it
put it
off.
off. Call Sokolov. I will put it off. Not even that it was his fault, but I will put it off. That's what's going to happen.
Very funny.
Larry King's like, I wouldn't even call right now. I think we all need a break.
Do people realize Americans? I love dumping this on them. So a lot of them, when I tweeted it out, didn't know about the John Hamm skip the dishes commercials.
We have because
They
it's
don't
Canadian.
Yeah, they don't run in America.
Yeah. Did you know that Larry King has a lawyer commercial in Canada?
Yeah, because
And it's especially bad.
because you can hire Larry King to do anything. I think he
Yeah.
works for a Mexican network now that like is a major network, and that's what that. So Larry King does what he did at CNN for a Mexican network now that does English language. I think all the way through. I believe that's where that set is. So what happens is, if you want Larry King to do your thing, you can just buy airtime, like
How do
you can.
know this?
Media business, right? So you can just buy airtime. So that's what they did. They paid the network and they paid Larry, and they paid a lot of money to get Larry King and Wendy Sokolov in the same thing together. Anyway, like if you're from Buffalo, Celino and Barnes, it's injury lawyers, right? You know their commercials. And you know what I respect about the Sokolov commercials though is the fact that they're so offbeat and weird and don't make any sense that you remember them. Like the fake Zach Hyman tweet, Wendy Sokolov helped me and my family
Maybe I
out.
won't put it off then. I'm
But
putting
anyway,
it off now.
so let me.
Larry King, who has more wives than the Leafs had goals against David Ayers. He's at 8 wives.
Yo, you know what? You want to read an interesting book? Read that guy's biography. That guy blew through he's one of those people that, everybody's got this friend that's just magically bad with money. Larry King is so magically bad with money that he's been bankrupt like several times, and he made multi, and he
It's
said,
gone now.
He said,
I don't get it.
Yeah, he finally said, like, I had to have an accountant put me on like this is how much money you have to spend, and when he spent it all each month, he would cut him off.
They
So
should do the
Larry
same
would have
thing to
money.
the Leafs.
Yeah.
Do the same
Now,
thing to Leafs. You're not allowed to spend anymore. Like, how does
So hold on.
if you're Brendan Shanahan, how do you go to the board and go, give me more money?
You
Or
don't.
here's how I'm going to spend your money next year. You can't.
No.
You can't. Like, this is everyone fire Dubas. This is so far above him. It's a crisis with the team.
Well,
They built a shitty team.
Let me ask you this.
Their team sucks.
So you lay an egg like that. You lay an egg in
Like that.
spectacular fashion.
Like that, and when they did.
Yes.
Oh, they lost. Oh, you're overreacting.
It's game 61?
Stop being such
19
a
games
loser.
left. Yeah.
Yeah. Have higher standards. If this
Stop
happened in
being
Boston,
such a loser.
they'd burn down TD Garden if this happened in Boston.
Well, Kemi was like, dude, if this was a South American soccer team, like they'd be afraid to show up to practice today. So, and what do the Leafs do? They cancel it. They don't even have to show up.
So here's the thing. They were supposed to have practice today at 12:30.
But it's hard here.
I was waiting for things to be thrown on the ice.
There was
they
a
did.
jersey.
They
There
Oh,
was
yeah?
a jersey throw.
Oh, okay.
When was
Yeah.
the last time a team currently in a playoff spot had a jersey thrown on the ice? You'll never understand Leafs, the Leafs, until you completely consume everything from last game.
But let me ask you about this. Optics are very important to this franchise.
Sure.
Tell me how it makes sense to cancel practice after what happened last night.
It doesn't.
And
It doesn't.
apparently it's Sheldon Keefe's call. So Sheldon Keefe cancels practice. What message does that send to them?
Green light, boys. Forget about it.
Well, that's the first
Green
question.
light, boys.
Number two is, what's that send to the fans who are already irate?
We don't care. Like, I'm sorry. What else am I supposed to take from it?
And by the way, if last night's loss didn't hurt you enough, remember that Carolina also has the Leafs' first-round pick this year because they had to get rid of Patrick Marleau. I try to throw that out there.
That Dubas's best move of the offseason, and I think this is a tweet from JD Bunkus, was lottery protecting that pick. I think it was top 10 protected.
Micah McMurdy at Ineffective Math on Twitter, who's a good follow. You should follow. The Leafs' power play shots compare unfavorably to the Hurricanes' shorthanded shots. As in, when the Leafs were on the power play, the Canes had more opportunities.
Screw you too.
Mitch Marner.
What else am I supposed to take from that?
Mitch Marner. I pulled this from Christian Chilton's.
Every player, like, instead of playing the third, they should have just all mooned and flipped off the crowd.
So, Mitch Marner from this is from Christian Chilton, but a lot of people had this quote, but that's the account I took it from. Mitch Marner. It was a dog shit effort on my part. I'm taking a lot of myself. I'm taking a lot of myself for this shit. I've got to be better. Too many turnovers. Not enough zone time. Just so many bad things happen. I mean, that toe pick. I don't think I've done that in 20 years of playing hockey. Everything just seemed to go wrong.
That's great. Practice tomorrow, Tampa Tuesday. Get out there.
In brackets, our line has been playing with that confidence and just most of us using our willpower. And that's something that wasn't there for myself tonight. And I feel like a couple other guys, but it starts with myself. I'm supposed to be a leader.
Sounds good. Practice tomorrow, Tampa Tuesday.